Welcome to another Halloween spooky season reading vlog. For this week I've decided to go with the traditional TBR jar picks my reading. I've got this cute little pumpkin mug and inside are all my TBR tailspin picks for the month, all my Halloween-a-Thon possibilities, all my generally spooky reads that I happen to own, and all my NetGalley books that are coming out in the next couple of months. There is a decent number in here, but I am really excited to read all of them, and I think they will all perfectly fit the vibe this month. I'm going to pick three. So the first one that I'm going to pick is this one. This is, you're going to see my terrible handwriting. Oh, we're upside down. And that is Spellfire. Spellfire by Agatha Willow is a spicy sapphic romance that is about two witches at the Grimoire Academy. Luna graduated from Grimoire Academy and never looked back until she gets a call about her beloved Professor Herringbone, who left Luna her prized spellbook collection. Luna is forced to return to the place she thought she'd left behind for good. Amelia is the last witch Luna wants to see. Once her high school crush, Amelia is now headmistress, and she's in desperate need of Luna's spellbook expertise. With the Academy's future at stake, and despite her reservations, Luna reluctantly agrees to become a teacher. But returning to Grimoire means facing Amelia and the unresolved feelings that linger between them. As they work together, Luna discovers that the true magic might be the undeniable connection that they share. Says there is spice, second chance romance, found family, and magical shenanigans. Obviously, this one is a witchy book, so it's going to fit in perfectly with my spooky season plans, but it's definitely on the cozier, softer side of spooky, which is nice. In addition to all of that, it is a NetGalley book due out on October 23rd. Okay, so draw number 2. I have, and we have, oh, this one's quite a slim one. It is Love and Video Games. This one obviously isn't a spooky or Halloweeny book, but it is on my NetGalley TBR. I do love this cover, it's so bright and so multicoloured, but having all those reds and oranges, I think it does kind of tie in with that fall autumn vibe, so I'm still quite happy with this. Love and Video Games by Zachary Sergi. This is Ready Player One meets Heartstopper, in which a myth-loving video game player discovers there isn't a cheat code to life or love while competing in a tournament with his handsome crush and gamer friends. Anything with mythology is a definite winner for me. I'm not necessarily a big gamer or video game player myself, but I do enjoy seeing it in books. I'm not a big video gamer myself, but I do really enjoy when it turns up in books. I think it always adds an extra layer to the story. Okay, so we are on to our third pick, and this is going to be the last. I think 3 is a really reasonable number of books for me to read in a vlog, so we have one more choice. I am hoping this is maybe something, it doesn't need to be scary, but I would quite like something in that Halloween zone. I'm gonna go with this one. That is You've Goth My Heart, which is by Lev Rosen, I think. You've Goth My Heart by Lev A.C. Rosen. This is one of my kind of favourite autobi authors. I love his historical noir mystery series, and I really enjoyed his YA novel Camp. I think this is going back to those YA novel roots, but it is in a slightly darker way. A blood-curdlingly spooky and darkly funny romance about how falling in love is scary AF. A blood-curdlingly spooky and darkly funny romance about how falling in love is scary AF, perfect for fans of Wednesday and Heartstopper. So we have 2 Heartstopper comps in this one vlog, but I do really enjoy the Wednesday TV show. It is very much a guilty pleasure, so those comps sound really good to me. When Gray gets a text from a wrong number, he's pretty sure it's a serial killer, or worse, his ex, on the other end of the line. But the anonymous texter shares his same taste in music and movies, and Gray's bored while stuck at home all summer, so why not respond? Being anonymous actually helps them open up to each other, and Gray finds himself hopeful that this could be his dream goth crush. All they have to do is meet on Halloween, the night of Sleepy Hollow's big house decorating contest, and the perfect opportunity for Gray to show his mystery texter his true feelings. But between Gray's closeted ex coming back into the picture, a cute but obnoxious new goth kid vying to win the contest, and a maybe serial killer lurking around and killing local gay teens, Gray's prospects are looking grim. Come Halloween, he'll either get his dream guy or die trying. You've Got My Heart is the romantic and hilarious accidental connection romance you don't want to miss. So all three of these sound really good, really up my alley, and I will pick what one I'm going to start with, and I will update you once I get maybe around halfway. Okay, so this is just a super quick update about the first book I picked for Spellfire by Agatha Willow, and I'm struggling with it a little bit. I think I'm around about the 15 to 20% mark, and I'm not loving it. I'm not hooked yet. I've been thinking about my 2026 goals and setting those for next year, which made me think about my 2025 goals that I set for this year. And one of them was to DNF books early on if I was fairly confident at that early point that I knew this book was never going to be a 4 or 5 stars. Why am I pushing through to come out with a mediocre book? Problem is, this one is an arc. I feel like I owe arcs something. I think I need like a hard and fast rule for at what point, if I'm not actively excited about getting back to the book, if as I'm reading I keep picking up my phone to scroll Instagram, I keep letting my attention drift off into my own thoughts, at what percentage mark do I call it quits on that book? And is that different for an arc or not? For this one, because I haven't made that decision, I'm going to push for a little bit further, but I am starting to wonder about whether I should DNF this book specifically, and also whether, for my own peace of mind going forward, whether I need to come up with a hard and fast rule about DNFs. I still haven't really came to a decision about Spellfire, and what I'm going to do instead is a third option to the things I considered yesterday, and I decided to not make a decision and start a different book. So I picked up You've Got My Heart by L.C. Rosen. L.C. Rosen, or Lev A.C. Rosen, depending on if he's publishing adult or YA, is one of my favorite authors. He's really become an auto-buy for me over the years. So this, I'm not sure if it's the best idea in terms of Spellfire, but I'm fairly certain I'm gonna enjoy this one. Either it's gonna mean that Spellfire suffers by comparison, and I mean, I suppose that would tell me maybe that I do need to just set it aside, or this might just be the break I need. You've Got My Heart is a YA contemporary romance. Our main character is Gray. He lives in a very small town. He is openly out. He is very openly goth, into all the gothic clothes, the gothic vibes. His two mums run the town's pagan witch shop. And we're coming up for Halloween. The town has an annual Halloween decorating contest. Gray is determined that he and his friends are going to win it, as they always have in the past. And while he's doing that, he's going to be recording some of the process for his film class because he's quite into film. While all that's happening, Gray gets a text from a wrong number, and the two start a kind of mysterious stranger type of, relationship via text message, which means quite a lot of the opening chapter of the book, or the first 50 pages of the book, is told entirely through text messages. It does feel like I know exactly where this story is going. Obviously, a new kid turns up at school at the same time as mysterious stranger has talked about his mum and dad moving them to, at the same time as a mysterious stranger has arrived after. I kind of feel like I know where this one is going. It's not maybe the most unique plot. While Gray is texting this mysterious stranger, he mentions that his parents are moving them out of the city to a small town, and lo and behold, a new student, another goth kid drag queen, turns up in the school. Malcolm and Gray do not get along right off the bat. Gray is convinced that Malcolm, the new kid, and his mysterious stranger cannot be the same person, even when the narrative, the things that they're saying line up pretty clearly that he is. So there's a bit of an enemies to lovers storyline going on here. There's a bit of a mistaken identity storyline going on here. And all of it's happening around Halloween and the build up to this Halloween haunted house contest. But what I do love about Rosen's writing is his characters. That was the same with Camp. It was a hidden identity romance. We had the main character coming back to summer camp after a year away, having completely revamped his look, completely redesigned his personality in order to more appeal to the boy he had a crush on, and kind of pulling it off for the most part. It was kind of obvious where that book was going to go, but that didn't matter because the humor was so good and the characters were so compelling. And I kind of feel that's what's going to happen with this book too. I personally am 99.9% sure that Malcolm is the mysterious stranger. I have been right through the entire book from page 1, and I'm 99% sure that Malcolm and Gray are gonna get together by the end of the book. There's really nowhere I can see there being some massive twists. This is far more about the journey, about the really fun setting. It's got such good Halloween-y atmosphere as our very artsy kids try to pull off this incredible. So while I'm not expecting it to blow my mind in terms of plot, I am having a really good time with it. And I think that has been a really nice palette cleanser from Spellfire. And then after this one, I can decide what I want to do about that one. So Goth Your Heart was not my favourite L.C. Rosen book. I enjoyed it, but it felt a bit more middling than some of his other books. One of the things that I did absolutely love about it is the setting, the vibes, the atmosphere. This is set in the lead up to Halloween in Sleepy Hollow, and both our main character and his friends and his potential love interest are all involved in the annual haunted house decorating contest. We get to see all of the work they do on putting this haunted house together. Between him and his two best friends, Callie and Lenore, from science fair style crafts that are being used to create prosthetics, fake blood. We have them making stained glass windows to create forced perspective as you'll be walking through the store. We have animatronic hearts beating, and we have Lenore costuming them all in really gorgeously described goth outfits for both kind of everyday use and also specifically Halloween night. I did have two issues with this book. One was minor and one was more baked into the concept. The minor one was that there is a background story going on right from the start of the book that gay teens have been going missing in this town. Gray, right at the start, thinks it is Polly Perry getting people to join his polycule, and he doesn't take the missing kids seriously. While he is going through this long distance secret identity relationship, he and his secret caller, and then he, Callie, and Lenore all make jokes about how maybe his secret admirer is a serial killer and maybe he's going to be the next victim. And I was absolutely fine with that. It actually made more sense, probably in the context of the book, for the teenagers not to take these disappearances seriously, rather than another book where they would maybe be poised to start investigating themselves. This read more like real teenagers who have their own problems to worry about. But I would have liked to have seen the missing persons case taken more seriously in the sort of world of the book in general. I think it would have added a nice level of tension. You could have had the town gradually becoming more and more concerned, maybe security tightening up and impacting what the kids are able to get up to. I just thought it was a missed opportunity to create some tension in a story that otherwise is a fairly smooth ride, which is pretty much my other problem with the story. Although for the characters themselves, Gray and his secret texter obviously don't know who the other one is, but we do find out fairly early that the secret texter is being moved out of the city by his parents. They're moving to a small town. He's going to be starting a new school. He's going to be taking part in a haunted house contest. And at exactly the same time, a new kid, Malcolm, appears in Gray's class. It's really obvious to the reader right from the beginning that Malcolm and the mystery texter are the same person, even though obviously it takes Gray the entire length of the book to figure that out. I don't hold that against the character. I don't think this is one of those times of a character being so stupid that it, strains credulity. I just thought that there should have been maybe more red herrings, more potential twists, a couple of other suspects to be the mystery texter to keep the reader engaged. Whereas I kind of felt like all the will they, won't they of the relationship was blown out of the water right at the start in a kind of inevitability. It might have been really nice if there had been a little more of a debate over whether these two people were the same person. And then we could have had, again, some more tension, some more stakes by having Gray debating which of the boys he was interested in, and then obviously finding out they were the same person. There's an element of that here. He does start to warm to Malcolm as the book goes on, but I definitely didn't feel that there was any real contest between Mystery Texter and Malcolm in terms of who Gray was interested in. Overall, it was a decent book. It was enjoyable, and I did enjoy it. I read it really quickly, which is helped by the fact that there are large sections told through text message, but also it just had a really readable style. Rosen is a great writer, and that confidence really comes through, making it easy to plough through these pages. I love the setting and the spooky atmosphere, and I do think this is probably a perfect book to be reading at this time of year if you're looking for YA contemporary romance with a little bit of a gothic twist. However, it just didn't reach those kind of soaring heights I had been expecting from another Elsie Rosen book.
Ready Player One meets Heartstopper, in which a myth-loving video game player discovers there isn't a cheat code to life or love, while competing in a tournament with his handsome crush and gamer friends. In the real world, Keegan Thomas is a gay 18-year-old mythology nerd with undiagnosed chronic pain. But in the myth-inspired online video game world of Pantheonic, he is the glorious and powerful Chaodicea, slaying legions of enemies and completing quests for honour and glory along with his team, the Epic Hearts. Despite his closeness to his gamer friends, and the secret crush he has on his teammate Alex, no one knows that he is struggling with the sudden onset of chronic pain in his lower back, and fears it will hinder his ability to move to NYU in the fall. When a quest in Pantheonic turns out to be a secret invitation to an in-person tournament in New York City, Keegan has to battle his fears of concealing and managing his pain, so that his team can attend this once-in-a-lifetime event. Competing against 6 other teams, members of the Epic Hearts must work together to outwit and outplay the others to win the tournament and the hefty cash prize. But can Keegan, as Chaodicea, be one of the heroes that Pantheonic needs while he's laser-focused on his own epic battle? Will he be able to level up his relationship with Alex and lead his team to victory? It's time for the games to begin.
After finishing up You've Got My Heart, my next plan was to read Love and Video Games by Zachary Sergi. I didn't check in with you because I ended up grabbing the audiobook. I had a real bout of insomnia and I sat up and I think I listened to about 80% of the book in one night, and then I just finished it off this morning. This one follows gamer Keegan and his teammates in a mythology-inspired video game contest. The stakes are incredibly high for the contest. There's a massive cash prize, and the publicity is probably going to help all Keegan's teammates with the various projects that they want to do when they leave school. All 3 of them have career goals in mind that would take a lot of social media influence. This could be the big push they need to make that success happen. Going into the contest, though, Keegan has 2 sort of big secrets. The first is his crush on one of his teammates, Alex, and the other is that he has a chronic pain condition that is currently undiagnosed after surgeries and multiple tests. He's still not been able to find a solution. And this book is another mixed bag for me. If you've watched my Magical Readathon vlogs, you'll actually know that I read another video game inspired book last month, Looking for Group by Alexis Hall. And at the time, although I enjoyed the book by the end, my struggle at the beginning was how technical it was, how much it really immersed itself in gamer language and sort of gamer references and jokes. Love and Video Games does video games in a much more accessible way. We get them discussing their strategies, but it's nothing like the level of technicality that's in Looking for Group. In terms of that technical language, this is very much a YA version, and also I think maybe directed more at casual gamers, where Looking for Group felt like something that was really intended for people that already had a love of the subject. Because the game had that mythology angle to it, I really enjoyed it, and I could definitely see myself playing this game. It seemed much more something you might be able to get away with as a early entry type of gamer, which I really enjoyed. I also really liked at the contest how casually inclusive the story was. We had multiple teams of gamers who were either queer and or had a disability or were non-white, and it was just really nice to see how far depictions of gamers have come in the past 15 to 20 years, and how much more inclusive the gaming world seems to people who aren't just straight white teen boys. I thought it felt like a real celebration of gaming, the gaming world. In terms of pacing, the book moves fairly quickly. We have this contest and knockout rounds, which kind of like any book with a contest or trials, creates a natural pacing that the author is able to follow. This made the book feel very action packed, and it made the book feel like it was always moving on to the next thing. A small issue I had with the book was in terms of stakes. Keegan really has two goals. One is obviously to win this massive cash prize, and the other is his romantic plotline with Alex. And I think the problem I had was that in both plotlines, everything just seemed to come a little too easy without Keegan really feeling like he was having to push through. The grand prize is nice, but none of the team desperately need the money to achieve the goals they already have in mind. It would be something that would help them, but they already all know what they want to do, and they already have that lined up as their next move, whether they win the cash prize or not. So there didn't really feel like there was a desperate need for the characters to, achieve their objectives and goals. We didn't see that character arc, that journey, the way I would have wanted to. In the relationship side of things, there is a little bit of a tension between Alex and Keegan right at the start. We have the only one bed trope coming in, if that interests you. But the characters are already very close, they're friends when we start. And I never really felt that there was any push in that relationship. It very naturally, without any challenges, goes from friends meeting to confessing their crushes on each other, and it all being very reciprocal. There's no longing, there's no will they, won't they. Again, it felt too easy. Considering this book doesn't even clock in at 300 pages, there was plenty of time that these things could have been developed further. We could have made the contest be more of a challenge, but we could also have made the characters' need to win the contest greater. Yes, they could have lost in the end, but I think if there was more of a real need, or the characters felt a need to win the contest, it would have created some nice dynamic tension and made them maybe have to think outside the box, problem solve more, rearrange things in their actual lives rather than just in the game strategy. The same with the relationship. I would have liked to have seen a few more peaks and troughs. I would have liked to have seen it build in a different way with more of that lingering tension than just what seemed like a kind of pre-done deal right at the start. The other critique I have, and I promise I did enjoy this book, but the other critique I have is one that I would like to see other reviewers' thoughts on this book, especially reviewers that have some kind of chronic pain issue. This is going to be slightly spoilery for the book, but I think it's something that readers with chronic pain conditions picking up this book to see themselves might want to know going in. Keegan does find a partial solution to his chronic pain in the book, and that solution is presented very much as mind over matter. You have to meditate upon the pain, accept that there's no physical cause, therefore it's your brain doing this, and you can kind of outthink your brain and thus reduce the chronic pain you're in. As someone who doesn't have a chronic pain condition, I can't speak to whether that's true or not, but something about it just made me feel a little uncomfortable, and I think it would be something that I would want to hear about from people that actually suffer that condition, whether they thought that this was realistic or harmful representation. Having talked it all through, my thoughts on love and video games are still roughly where they were rating wise. I think I rated it about a 3 when I finished it. But I thought what's coming through to me really is that it was a missed opportunity. There were a lot of good things in this story, but I feel that adding to the page count and maybe writing another draft where we up all of the stakes would have maybe been enough to just give it that extra star. It was enjoyable, it was also a little forgettable. Now, my big decision at this point in the week is whether or not to go back to Spellfire. And with a little bit of distance between the part I had read and where I am now, I just don't think I'm interested in going back to it. I don't think it's bad in any way, I just think it's too cozy for me. As I've just said with both these books, part of my issue was the lack of stakes. And while I do enjoy cozy fantasies and cozy mysteries and cozy romances, I think maybe I need to be in the right mood for them. So I'm making the decision now to DNF Spellfire. Instead, I'm going to start on my Fiction Falls book club read of the month. Fiction Falls Book Club is hosted by Clint at Read Readers and Amanda at Amanda's Booktopia. I'll put it in the description below. And this month's book is Warrior Princess Assassin by Brigid Kemmerer. This is a Why Choose Romantasy, and I'm actually really excited to read it, which is strange because it's not something I would have thought I would be interested in, but something about the description just really grabbed me. I'll get back to you once I've made a dent in it. So, Warrior Princess Assassin, I was not planning on picking up. Not this month and not in general. I'd seen it, I'd skimmed the blurb, and I dismissed it as a romantasy of the kind that I'm just not interested in. But when it came up as the Fiction Falls Book Club, I thought, why not? And if nothing else, it can redeem the mess that was The Blood of Hercules. Blood of Hercules was the last Why Choose Romantasy I read, and I was so excited to see something that had a mythology kind of bend to it, and I was heartbreakingly, infuriatingly disappointed in that book. So if you are interested in seeing all my thoughts on Blood and Hercules, the very different ratings we all gave it, then I will find the link to that and I'll put it in the description box below. But point being, this one, it came in with a little bit of baggage. I really wasn't sure what I was going to think of it, and I'm having such a good time. The world building, I will admit, I am still finding a little bit sketchy. We have 3 different kingdoms. One is much bigger than the other 2. Jory is the princess of one kingdom. Her father has weather-based magic that allows their kingdom to thrive in terms of harvests. Our warrior character is the king of a different small kingdom. He has a fire power, so he's really good at offensive magic and warfare, but his people are starving. So the kind of idea is that these 2 countries are going to form an alliance, they'll help each other, and they will take on Draconis, which is the big threat. However, our third character, Asher, is the assassin. He is Jory's childhood friend, but because his mother was accused of treason, he was sold into indentured servitude and has eventually worked his way up in the Hunters Guild. The story all comes together when Asher is given 2 different assignments for assassination. One is from King Kai, as far as we can tell, looking to take out Jory. And one is from Jory's father and brother looking to take out King Kai. The 3 characters all kind of collide. They all want what's best for their 2 kingdoms. There's a lot of distrust, and it's so much fun. As I said, that magic system is, I'm interested, but I'm not sure I understand it. In this entire world, we have only 2 people with magic, the 2 kings, and it just feels a little bit like a medieval version of X-Men or something. I want to understand why these 2 people have magic, and exceptionally powerful magic, where no one else does. I kind of don't quite understand where that's come from. So the world building is a little bit on a shaky peg. But the star of the show in this is the not just the romance, but just the character dynamic between the three main characters. There's such good chemistry here, and I really was hoping for something like this because Brigid Kemmerer wrote A Curse So Dark and Lonely, I think as her YA debut years and years ago. I read that book but never continued with the series. It felt like it worked fine as a standalone. But what I did really love about that book, and also was really frustrated by in that book, was that she wrote a love triangle where I completely bought both love interests. And honestly, I was like, why must we choose? So I was really hoping that Kemmerer would get that balance right. And so far, she does seem to be doing that. We have the sweet or bittersweet childhood longing between Jory and Asher. They have both been in love with each other without confessing their feelings since they were children. And now there's such a disparity in their stations, they can never be together. But there's always going to be that longing and that affection. And then we have Jory's relationship with King Kai, where it's an almost enemies to lovers immediately, but there is definitely some lust and some attraction comes through right from their very first meeting. Where I am now, Asher, Kai, and Jory are just crawled through a sewer together. They've escaped the palace, some more, willingly than others, and they're getting to spend a bit of time in that forced proximity and learning about each other's secrets. And what I'm finding really interesting is the way that Kemmerer is sort of balancing out those different legs of the triangle. I'm really hoping that this is going to be the type of why choose where we end with a really equal polyamorous situation rather than just the female main character with the various male characters. Obviously, don't know that yet, but from the way Kemmerer is setting it up, I feel like that's where we're going. The chemistry on kind of all three relationships is just, it's impeccable, and it's great that all the relationships have slightly different vibes, they're different chemistries, they're different dynamics, and I just think that makes it feel really, really fleshed out, really realistic. This isn't just the same characters with different names and different POVs. These all feel like unique characters, and because they're unique characters, their relationships with each other are all varied. So I'm having a really, really good time with it. I don't want to say it's a 5-star because I'm only halfway through, but I genuinely think it might be a 5-star. I have very, very high hopes going into the second half of the book, and I just really don't want it to let me down. So I'm going to go read the rest of the book, and I will come back to wrap up this vlog and let you know what I think. So Warrior Princess Assassin, I don't want to jump ahead myself. There are still 2 full months left in the year. And there's always a bit of recency bias. I always look back on things with a slightly more critical eye. But if this isn't my top book of 2025, then it's definitely going to be in my top 5, in my top 10, however I end up wrapping this year up. I had such a good time with this book. I loved the characters. The world building, I still hold out that the magic system is a little underdefined. The politics of the greater world is a little bit, as we zoom out from our characters, it all gets a bit vague and sketchy. But I didn't care because the characters were so good. All 3 of our main characters were so well fleshed out. They were so well created. They were all really, really different, but I liked them and rooted for them all in different ways. And then each of them had a slightly different relationship dynamic with the other 2. It felt so well crafted. I really love what Kemmerer has done here. All 3 of the relationships could have been the main relationship. They all stood on their own legs. But then you also had, when all 3 characters came together, I think a relationship that's even stronger than the sum of its parts. And I adored the book. I actually found myself rationing it out because I didn't want to finish it too quickly. And before I'd even finished, I was looking online to see if there's a sequel. There isn't one listed on Goodreads, but there very clearly is a sequel coming, so I'm not worried about that. I rarely reread, I never reread immediately, but I was very, very tempted if I didn't have a TBR as long as my arm this month to go back immediately and reread it from the start. So knowing that there'll be a sequel, that this wasn't a standalone, is quite helpful because I can push it forward in my head a little, promise myself that I will reread them in preparation for reading the sequel. Otherwise, I would just be in a feedback loop of reading it again and again because this was so good. And it utterly, utterly redeems the Fiction Falls Book Club's choice of Blood of Hercules. I have nothing but good things to say. And okay, I know I said the world building was a little bit hinky, but I think the second book could flesh that out. This book was very much about the characters. There's not a whole lot of plot. It's almost a travel story. We're just getting these characters into various types of forced proximity and getting them to confess their secrets, getting them to bond. In the sequel, all the stakes are going to rise up. I think the politics will become much more important, and then I'll maybe assess the whole thing as, a fully completed world building arc or whatever. But at the moment, this was fantastic. Sometimes in multi POV books, even dual POV books, I can sometimes find myself opening a book and seeing who the chapter is and thinking, oh, like I kind of just want to skim past this and get back to the story I was enjoying. Whereas there was at no point where I wasn't really like, okay, this is Ash's POV now, that's absolutely fine. I loved all three of our main characters. I don't think the twist at the end was much of a twist. It was fairly obvious from the very beginning of the book what that was going to be, but I'm not really sure whether you're even meant to think of it as a twist. The characters obviously don't see it coming, but for a reader, I think you're aware of what's happening here right from the start. And I didn't mind at all being just proven right. I was there for the journey. And honestly, all the little things don't really matter. It was a 5-star. I could nitpick. I'm sure there are people that are gonna critique the book and bring up lots of very, very, very valid points. I don't care. I don't care. It was a 5-star. So it's a good one to end this vlog on though, because I don't know what I want to pick up next. In this vlog, I attempted to read Spellfire and I DNF'd it. And honestly, if we think of Warrior Princess Assassin as the book that replaced Spellfire, the glow up. I'm so glad that I chose to switch them out. The other books that I read for this vlog were Love and Video Games and You've Got My Heart. They were both enjoyable. Love and Video Games, I would say I felt was the weakest. It was somewhere around a 3. It was underdeveloped. You've Got My Heart was really good. It was really solid. There was nothing particularly wrong with it. I just think there were a couple of elements that I thought weren't utilised as well as they could have been, but you would have probably had to rewrite most of the book to make them. It had all of the Halloween and fall aesthetic vibes really working for it. Rosen is one of my favourite authors. I think my expectations were higher than they would have been if this was just a new to me author. So that's maybe played against it a little bit. But overall, it was a fairly solid batch. Lots of variety, but I came out with some really, definitely at least 2 books that I really enjoyed and one that I'm absolutely going to be rereading incredibly soon. In terms of prompts, none of these books hit anything for This Witch Reads or for Gothtober, but Love and Video Games did fit the Quarry for Halloween-a-Thon, and You've Got My Heart did fit the Halloween-a-Thon Do You Think He Saw Us prompt. In terms of the watch-a-thon aspect of Halloween-a-Thon, I finished up the last 2 or 3 episodes that I had left of Wayward on Netflix. That is a series with Mae Martin and Toni Collette that looks at a juvenile detention facility. The plot was really strange, and I'll be honest that for the entire 8 episodes, I don't know that at any single point I fully understood what was going on, but I was absolutely hooked the entire way through. The end wasn't what I expected, especially from an American TV show, and I would probably be interested if they decide to come back and do a second season, but I don't think it needed it. And I think that's probably quite smart writing if you've got a Netflix show to make sure you've told the story that wraps up in one season just in case. Then I joined one of the watch-alongs that was happening for July weekend. This was one weekend that focused very much on a very specific type of Italian horror movie. It was The Cat of Nine Tails, which I think is a movie from the 80s. I really, really enjoyed the movie itself. I gave it somewhere about a 4. It was nonsense, but I did have a good time with it. And I think I would probably get more from it watching it a second time. But I loved the watch-a-thon aspect. I watched it through the Discord group, and there was a group chat going in the corner. I love getting to see different people's thoughts and opinions on the hairstyles and the fashion and the wallpaper choices, and it was a really, really good experience, and I loved that community aspect. So that's how I did this week. Let me know how your reading's been going. Have you found any new favourite books in the past week? Have you tried something you weren't expecting, and how did it go? If you don't have any comment in particular that you want to leave, but you want to show me that you were here, then leave me some kind of royalty emoji in the comments for Warrior Princess Assassin. Thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate if you can like the video, and if you'd like to see more from me, especially during this Halloween season with some of my spookier reads, then please subscribe to the channel for more updates. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you hopefully in the next video. Goodbye.